Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is. How's it going? God, you lot are quiet. I can't cope with quiet. Okay, so right. Charticulator. Let me a quick bit about me. On Twitter, I'm Laura GB. I've got a blog called Hatful of Data. Yes, Terry Pratchett, Hatful of Sky, and all those things. That's where I got it from. I've also got a YouTube channel, Hatful of Data, and I am what's called a solution specialist. I have no job description at HSO, who are a Dynamics consultancy partner, and have just recently started a Power Platform team, which is the guys that I work with. Okay. When I'm not doing all those kind of things, I spend my time playing games, and that's me dying, if I remember rightly, in some RPG. Probably. Whenever I have to roll dice, it's always bad news. So, what are we doing? What are we doing on this course? We're going to talk about what are your options if you want to have custom visuals, okay? And what's the jargon? I'm going to give you a little bit of the jargon, but I'm actually going to point you to resources that are fantastic and give you all the jargon. The last thing you want here is just a slide full of data. And then I'm going to do the bit that I like doing, which is the demos, okay? And then it says what now? I'm trying to remember what that slide is. I'm hoping there's a slide that matches that. The deck, I have a resources slide at the end, which has links to all the resources I will talk about. That I have uploaded, but only just, so it might not yet be on the app. My apologies. But I will also link out all the links that I'm going to put in the slide later on Twitter and on LinkedIn. So, custom visuals in Power BI. What options have we got? Okay. My original training was as a programmer. I worked out that's not my lifestyle because things like Python and R scripts scare the living daylights out of me. JavaScript, no thank you. But they're there. They've been there a while. In Power BI, you can use them. You can create beautiful visuals. I've seen some fantastic ones done. Then if you're going to go a little bit, you're okay to do a little bit of code. Okay, there's a number of HTML ones. I just happen to pick the two that have been done by Daniel, the DNEB and the HTML. The DNEB, if you haven't had a look at it, and if I was doing this and I was brave enough to do it, I would be doing that visual. It's an awesome one. Go and have a look at it, please. I can't remember Daniel's surname. Marsh Patrick. Thank you. It's a brilliant visual. He's done some fantastic work there on both the HTML and the DNEB. So then we go, well, I want to go even lower code than that. I want almost no code. And we've got a number, there's two there that I'm sure lots of you have come across, the infographic designer and the synoptic panel. They're brilliant if you haven't come across them. Plus there's a whole bunch of other ones. But they're the two that I've used quite a lot. Some very impressive diagrams. And to add the third kid into the block is Charticulator. And that's what we're looking at today. Okay. Charticulator I very carefully put to the right-hand side of the other ones. Because if you can break it, who here in the room, and I'm going to have to kind of see, has had a go with Charticulator? Oh, not many. Out of you people that have done Charticulator, how many diagrams have you broken? Every single one of them. We're really good at that. So, I'm going to step straight in and do some demos. Okay, I think the next slide is, oh no, jargon. I don't like PowerPoint, can you tell? So there's lots of bits of jargon that's in there. It's been built up with, so there's some things called glyphs, which you draw one for every single row of data you've got. Okay, once you get that that concept in your head, kind of works. The guides are really important, and anchor points are really important as to where things stick. Because if you don't stick them to anything, it goes, well, you meant in the middle, didn't you? Wherever you put it. When you go, it ends up in the middle. Scaffolds and stacking. I have broken so many visuals by playing around with scaffolds and stacking. But they're really important. They work. Layers is to help you navigate where all your items are. I will show you all these things when we get into there. So, next, I haven't got presenter view. This is why I'm doing the wrong things here. Next slide. Stop talking, it's demo time. I talk too much. Right. So here we are in Power BI. I am keeping today to reasonably simple visuals just to try and give you some idea of what's inside Charticulator. Okay? So these are some visuals I've put together. They're all based off the weather. There's a fantastic set of data out there off our weather stations in the UK. And this is off Camborne data weather for over 10 decades. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to replicate. We're going to do a couple of examples that fit some of these things in here. All right? Please ask questions. Please stop me. If you put your hand up, there's a chance, especially if you're all the way over there, I'm not going to see you. So you are very welcome to say, "Oi, Laura, question." I will not be insulted. So, let's first start with where you get Charticulator. It's a custom visual, okay? And if I go into, it's not going to work because my Wi-Fi is not behaving. My apologies, that is not going to work. Under the Get More Visuals there, and go and search for Chart I. You don't have to know how to spell Charticulator. Because let's be honest, apologies, there are some Microsoft people in the room. Microsoft shouldn't name things. Let's be honest. So, I bring in the Charticulator, the visual here. And I've got a really simple little data model here. Let me just move it so that you can see it around the window just for a second. It's a really simple model. I've got some data and I've got a calendar. The simplest model you're going to get, right? And I'm going to, I'm going to create a simple bar chart, okay? And let's go for the average rainfall. And in each month. Be careful, there are multiple boxes to drag the parts into. You'll end up with data in the wrong places and it not working. Just put them all in the top unless you're playing with the delights of links. I am not doing a links demo today. I apologize now. I promise I will do a video on it. The chances of it going wrong and the demo god's not loving me, it's not happening today. My apologies. So I'm going to go for rainfall each month. Really simple. Once I've loaded them in, on the 3 dots, I can click there and I can go for edit. And let's maximize back up the window. And it then gives you this part here. And you have a number of options. Okay, you can import a template. So this can be, you've created a Charticulator visual, you can export it as a template, and you can import it and reuse it. So all of this might look like you are doing lots of custom building. How on earth do I reuse all that work? Templates is your option. But we're going to go and create a chart from scratch. And here we are in the window. Let me just take that one out, give it a little bit more space. We've got a number of windows. In the middle here, we've got a plot area, which is where we're going to see our chart being built. And on the right-hand side at the top, where the big flat hand is now, we've got the glyph, okay? And that's the bit that we're going to build, and that's the bit we're going to put the marks and the text in to make our little chart. Underneath it, you'll be able to see what you've built and what things you've added in the layers part. And underneath there, we've got an attributes pane, which will show us the bits about whatever we've clicked on at the time. What are the attributes, the size, etc., etc. Okay? So let's start with a very simple, we want a bar chart. So I want bars going across. So for that, I'm going to take a mark, and there's a number of shapes you can have. So a rectangle, ellipse, or a triangle. Okay, I'm going to stick to the rectangle, and I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to drop it. You see the glyph has gone orange when you drag it over it, and let go in there. And there you are. It draws bars for every row of data you've got. But they're vertical, they're not bars, they're columns. I don't want columns, I want bars. So this is where your scaffolds come in as to how you want it arranged. And up on the top ribbon at the top, we've got scaffolds up here, and I can say horizontal line and vertical line are in my head are the wrong way round. I'm glad someone's nodding here at the front. It's always nice when someone agrees with the... But naming, hey, we've had this conversation. So I click vertical, and then I click and I drag it. Okay, so you're dragging on things. And there we are, we've got bars. Okay? Now, I want those bars, the length of each bar, to match the rainfall. Okay? Now, I'm going to show one method now. If we get time, I will show another method in a moment, but at the end of the session. But I want them to all be different lengths. So if I come down here, now I can minimize the glyph pane so that I can see more things. Okay? And down here, I've got a width. And you see there's a little link button on the side? I can click that link button, and it says, well, what do you want to link it to? And it will only show you the number fields. That's why it's showing you your average rainfall. Okay? So I've got them in there. And it's kind of, well, which month is which? Okay, let's see if we can work that out. Now, I could put in the names of the month down the side. But actually, I'm doing a custom visual. I want to put the name of the month inside the bar. Okay, so it looks cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add to my glyph, I'm going to add some text. And that glyph little box is far too small. So a nice feature that's here is you can unpin it. And I can make it bigger. And then there's a little button here that says auto zoom, which brings it in so that you can see more of what's going on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some text. And I've got two options. I've got text or I've got a text box. Text box has 4 sticky pads, so it will stretch out to meet 4 anchors. Text has 1 anchor. Okay? So I'm going to stick to text. And I'm going to drag it into my glyph. And you see there's a tiny little green dot. Let me zoom in a little bit so you have some chance. There's a little green dot in the middle. That's the sticking point. Okay? I can put my mouse cursor over it, and I can drag that to be somewhere else. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it to the left. Now the sticking points have to be where 2 guides cross. Okay? It can then stick, because that's where it knows where to stick. If you don't stick it, it will just end up in the middle. Okay? Although it will look pretty for a moment. And then you'll go, yes, save it, and then it goes in the middle. Been there, done that too many times. But now you've got this one sticking point. Where do you want your text to be round that sticking point? Okay? So down here on the right, let me make that a little bit smaller so we can see it at the same time. Down here, if I go, and I make sure I've got text selected, you can see you've got the anchor X, anchor Y, right? And this, if I go for the X one and go, if you look, it's going to the left, if you can see the text on there, or it can go to the right, but I'm actually going to put it to the left. And up and down the anchor Y, I'm going to put it in the middle. And we've also got a margin, so we can say, well, actually, I want it further in, a bigger gap. I'm also going to make the text white, so that it shows up slightly better. And you can also do things like make the text slightly bigger. Okay? So all those things you can do. Now we want to change that text to say which month it is. So I'm now going to scroll up a little bit, and there's the text box, and it's got a little link on the end. So we click the link, and I'm going to put in month name. So there we are. We've got January. Okay? And if I now go and pin the glyph back onto the thing, we'll see behind the scenes that it's put in your months there. Okay, so I've got my months all the way through. I've got my lengths there on my chart. Now I'm going to take that in a little bit, and I'm just going to show you one more thing. So that's plain simple text. I'm just going to do a quick rinse and repeat, which is to bring in another piece of text, and I want to put the actual rainfall value on the end. Okay, so I'm going to actually unpin that again, because hey, I can't see that. Don't get old, by the way. Your eyesight doesn't improve. I stuck it on the end. I'm going to make it be inside and in the middle, and let's up it a little bit in size. Make it also the margin a little bit bigger. And let's also make it white. Now, the actual text. Let's do a link, and let's go for the rainfall. You have a choice of what you're going to go for in here, because it can do some summarizing for you if you're doing grouping later on. Okay, not going to cover that today. We really, this is me trying to do a 50-minute session on something that we probably could fill a whole day on. So I'm going to stick to average because it's fine, because it's one row of data. Let's be honest, it's not making any difference. I think I just confused it there. Yep, I did just confuse it. Do you know what? I'm going to take that all out for a second. And then I'm just going to go and do the link again and do average rainfall. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Right. My apologies now. I realise this laptop doesn't have Zoom in on it. So, I am going to... The text that's in there has it has the average rainfall, and then in curly brackets after it, it has the formatting. Okay? The formatting being used here is D3 formatting. Okay? I've realised that's the one link I haven't put on the slide at the end, but I've put a slide to my blog post, which inside it has a link to the D3 formatting. And what it has in there, I realise it's small text. My apologies to those, to everybody really. Is it says .1f. Okay, that means 1 decimal place. Fixed decimal places, 1. Now, there's lots of things I could do. I could put .0f, no decimal places, or actually an alternative I usually use is take it all out and put in D. And when I click out of there, I get no decimal places. Okay? if you want to put something on the end, because this is millimeters of rain, okay? So actually what I want is after that I want to put a space, and then I want to put mm. You don't have to put any concatenation, any ampersands, quotes, all those things. You can just do it like that. But it doesn't show until you click somewhere else. That's another thing that I've learned. When you're tired and you're trying to put together a visual and a demo, that's fine. Okay, we can now pin that back. And there we are. We've got a nice simple visual showing us how much rain there is each month. Okay, now if I go back to my report for a second, at this point it will ask you, do you want to save the changes you've just made? So it was a success. That demo worked. So we're going to say save. Okay, now it's a visual. It's working off data. Okay, so all the things you expect a Power BI visual to be able to do, it kind of does. I'm being careful there because it doesn't 100% do everything. But I can bring in a slicer. Let's bring in a slicer, and let's bring in the decade. I keep right-clicking instead of left-clicking. And there we are. We can click in the different decades, and you can see it changing. Okay, so it works. Yeah? So that's all very well, and that's all very pretty, but you turn around and go, yeah, Laura, all you've really done is put some text on some bars. I can do a bar chart. That's fine. So then I moved on to some ones. The one my boss's favourite is. Okay, it's the one that I've shown him, and he's gone, yeah, can we have one of those charts? Because it's pretty. So let's add another one. And what we're going to do in this one is I'm going to bring in decade, month name. It's gone in the wrong place because that's what it always does to me. And let's go for the amount of, let's go for maximum temperature. Okay, and that's gone in the wrong place as well. There we go. So I've got my three bits of data. Now, with regards to minimum amount of data to put into a Charticulator, you have to put at least one thing in. And in my experience, you have to put in at least one text field. Okay? It can't cope with you just giving it a number. It really does want a text field as well. So into here, let's go and do the edit part. And let's create a chart. And let's go for, so we're going to bring in a grid again. We're going to bring in a square again. And I've got my grid there. Now earlier we talked about scaffolds. I want to go from vertical to horizontal. This time it's a little bit different to get there. But I want a grid. And what I want is one I showed earlier, which is decades across, months, and then all coloured based on how warm it was. Okay? So, if I click onto my area here, you get a little toolbar at the top there, which says, by default, says Stack X. Okay? And if I look in there, there are a whole bunch of different things in there, okay, that you can do all sorts of nice things. The packing and jitter, it gives you some interesting visuals. I have to admit, I've not found an actual use for them yet, but I'm working on it, okay? So if somebody can come up with an actual use for them, I'm willing to show you one later if we don't get time in this demo. I'll buy you a drink. I'll buy you biscuits. I'll buy you something. I don't know. I'll just be very grateful. You know, it's a bit like bubble charts. I've never found a real use for them that I understand. I'm hoping Scott is now going to come up with a real reason for a bubble chart. Let's put on a grid. So a grid, lots of little boxes. Okay. Now let's talk about, I want those little boxes to be coloured by the temperature. Okay. If you just put in a text field into there, you get category colours. Okay, so it'll give you a different colour for every category you put in. If you put a number field in there, so make sure that I click on the shape, minimize the glyph because it's taking up space, and then come down to the fill that's here. And there's my little link button. I can click on there, and it's asking, well, what do you want it to be based off? And if I go for the maximum temperature, it gives you a fantastic black and white version. But you can go in here, and there are other color schemes that we can come in here, or we can go for a red-blue. So the blues are the colder ones, the reds are the hotter ones. Okay? And as soon as you do that, over here, you get a scale and a fill, and that's important to understand. Okay, so if I come and click on this part here, it takes me back into that box and showing me what I can do. There's a legend. Okay, so we can add in a legend, and there you are. It's showing you what the different colors mean onto your chart, right? The other nice thing you can do is it's once you've picked one, if you go into custom, you can turn around and say, that almost white color I don't like, so remove it. And you can go through and you can tweak your colors to fit what you want them to be. Okay? But it's a little bit fiddly if you wanted to come up with something completely custom. Right. So I've got colored boxes, I've got a legend, but my boxes are, you have no idea which box means which month or which decade. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do real simple. It is incredibly simple. I'm going to bring in decade, and I'm going to drag it and put it on the y-axis. And there we are, there's the months of the different decades. And hey, if you want to do quarters, I suppose that might work, but I'm not sure of the order of the months. But if I bring in month name and put that on an axis, the months go across the bottom there. Okay. Now, I'm going to sort out the sorting in a moment, I promise. Just before I do that, though, they're falling off the edge. Okay, do you see the text falls off the edge? There are margins. And there are these wonderful guides around the outside that you can drag and put it in so that actually your text is fitting on. If you prefer to type them in by hand, there is somewhere to put in the numbers. Okay, if I go on to the, here we are actually on the right one, the chart. You can see here we've got margins, so I could actually say, do you know what, that really should be 60, and I really want that to be 50, because we're trying to fit in with branding, sizing, and all the other things that brand police want us to do. So, we've done that part. But then, of course, there is the classic. And let's be honest, I'm assuming everybody here has used Power BI. I didn't ask that question. We've got the classic. The first month of the year is April. Months should be alphabetical, let's be honest. It would be so much simpler, wouldn't it? I have in my model, and if you noticed earlier, the chart behaved. I have in my model done the sort by. I know Power BI well enough to have known that part. But I've sorted by the month number. But I haven't added the month number to this. And so the chart we did earlier, it behaved. And I have to admit, I don't know why. Because I'm looking at it thinking, why did that behave? I was expecting it to not behave. Because in this one, it doesn't behave. So if I bring in the month number into my visual, so over on the fields and dragged it in, hey presto, it's fixed. Okay, that's because it needs what to sort by in order to do it. It knows to sort by month number, but month number's not in there, so I can't do it. So in that regard, it's a little bit different to Power BI visuals. I don't have to do anything with the month number. It's there. Right. Were you all right online? Yeah, cool. So, one of the things I get asked to do is, my boss doesn't like Power BI titles. It's an issue. He wants he wants to have a little bit more control, a little bit more text, a little bit more things. He doesn't like the way they look, let's be honest. So I turned around and said, well, I can put a title in here and make it look a little bit different. That works. But you've got to be able to you've got to have things to stick to things. Okay? So I'm going to put in an extra guide across the top to be my 4 corners for my text box. So at the top here, I've got my guides, and there's a guide Y, which also, again, is another one of those things that to me isn't quite right. But anyway, a horizontal guide. Some of the time it doesn't appear until you wiggle your mouse about, and then suddenly it appears. It's a technical term. And we then click. Okay, and I can drag that. So I've put in a guide. It's a fixed guide. It's got an offset value here, so that it's coming off this line at the bottom here. No, it's coming off the top. My apologies. Because it says in there where the baseline is off the top, and you can put in the distance you want it to be. So you can define these accurately rather than just a guesstimate. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to bring in a text box, and I'm just going to draw it. Okay? And what you need to make sure is that you've drawn it in such a way that actually it's stuck to something. Now those green dots are stuck there, but in my experience they don't always stick if they're not on a corner. So I'm just going to pick up that one and I'm just going to drag it to that cross point. And that one to the top. And that one, I can choose whether I want it to be that one or I want to bring in another guide. But there you are, it's centralized. And I can type in my text. Maximum temp across the decades. And let's up it on font a little bit. Okay. So let's go back to the report and click Save. Your charts have sizes, and you need to make sure that you've picked the right proportions you want it to be. Okay? And something to be aware... Sorry, was that a question? No? Okay, okay. Something to be aware of. Your boxes will all stretch and grow and do all things you expect them to do, but your text won't. Okay? Other Power BI visuals, bless them, when you shrink them down, they try and make the text as small as they can to fit in the boxes and do all the right things and give you those little warnings that say the text, we can't do any more, and those things. Charticulator doesn't. Okay, I don't know whether it's going to come. And I am very aware that I've kept pointing out things that Charticulator gets slightly odd and wrong. It is changing. Microsoft are working on this. Okay, this is one that there are updates coming through. So there are just a few niggles that I've come across, and that's what I'm trying to show you is the gotchas rather than the it's a pain to use while you're using it. I really like it. I've managed to do some visuals in here, which are really simple, not far off what I've got here, but they've worked for what we need to do. Okay. There are some interesting things in here as to when you click boxes as to whether they all react to each other. So let me just go back to the Blue Peter one for a moment. If I go and click on a decade, it filters some things, as in it's filtered this one, but these ones that don't involve decade don't get filtered. Yeah? So you need to make sure that if you're wanting the Power BI experience, that you click on that thing, it filters everything else on the page. You've got to make sure you get that right and it's working in the way you want it to work. Okay? Any questions?
Can we have dynamic title?
Can you have a dynamic title? Yes. Yes, you can have a dynamic title because any text box can have data that comes in as a dynamic title. So if we had in here, if I add in a new measure, and let's just do the old zoom in. That's my apologies, my apologies. Let's put this in as title text. It's going to be itl text because T isn't working. And let's put in SQL bits in quotes. SQL bits is not meant to be a thing. It's not meant to be a space in there, but never mind, there is today. Okay, so I've just got a really simple measure in there. If I go back to my one that's got a title, let's keep it simple. My one here that's got a title, that one there, and I add in that itl text for now obviously it's a fixed measure, so it's going to be the same on every row. Okay, so you've got to be careful on your measure writing there. I've been careful to make it really simple. And I come in and edit. I can into that text box there, I'm hoping I can link that to itl text. Yeah? So that could be a calculated measure that could be off your, it could be dynamic. Yeah? Cool. Cool. So there are some really clever things you can do. Here comes the work. Go for it. As the demos have gone really well, I'm going to try it as a demo. But I have a reputation for demos going badly. Don't tell Scott. I'm presenting with him later. No, that's if I was had time, and I think I probably have got time. I'm hoping. I think I've got 12 minutes. Okay. Well, yeah. My word of caution before I go there. My word of caution. You can do some things to a visual which it is really difficult to undo. Okay? So, I'm going to save this one back to the report just for a second. And it's there. It's working. It's lovely. It possibly doesn't need a title, but hey, let's just quickly turn off that. I just pressed something, didn't I? Control Z, isn't it wonderful? Let's just quickly turn off the title in here. Right. So pretty thing. You think great, lovely, fantastic. Gonna keep that. And then somebody goes, well, can we just have a look at it if you made it into a radial diagram or something else? And I think, yeah, sure, fine. I'll just tweak it. And you come into here and you do something like, well, let's go for a scaffold that's polar, and let's drag that in. And you go, well, no, that's not really what I wanted. So now let's change it. Let's change its scaffold to be horizontal again. And now let's add that in. It worked. I did the wrong ones. That worked. It doesn't normally. I will tell you now. That normally goes horribly wrong. If you go and do... I am. There you go. That's more what that's more kind of thing. So I just added a horizontal scaffold in there as well.
So we've got one from online.
Yep, cool.
Says, can you build a month/decade in the same way that Power BI has hierarchy and drill down?
Can I do drill down and can I do hierarchy?
And I think it's particular to month, decade, kind of those levels. And they will correct me if I've said that.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. But I have to admit that's a really good question. And I've now just done the thing that I wasn't meant to do. No, that's a really good question. I don't think you can. But I am now going to try and prove myself wrong by doing one afterwards. I'm going to do the export first rather than that, but that's one that I'll come back to. So can you, the person online that asked that, please reach out. I will, on Twitter, I will put out something if I can work it out, a way of doing it. I don't think you can though. You do an edit. When you do an edit, and I'm just going to quickly do some form of edit, some of these that you can unchange them. You can get them back. Okay, if you know actually what it changed. So if I go into the plot segment there will be, scrolling down here, no, my apologies, it's the chart. I think, no, it's not, it is the plot segment. See, there will be a stacking in here somewhere that I can remove to get rid of some of these things. There it is, Y stacking. So I can remove them. There's little rubber pictures that allow you to go and get rid of some of these things. So there we are. Beautiful. We've lost our chart. Okay. When you go back, it says, do you want to save the changes? You can say don't save, and it will keep whatever it was before you went into edit. So the one piece of advice, okay, a glyph is one for every row. Back it up before you edit it. Okay, and one way of backing it up is to export it. So if I'm not going to do it to that one, I'm going to do it to this one instead. If I come into here and I go to edit, I can up there export as template. Now, well, let's export as template. And we're going to go download, and we're going to call it bar chart. SQL bits. Actually, no, it's in the SQL bits folder. It'll be fine. Bar chart. Okay. So now let's go back to the report, and let's come to here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it by this method. Let's bring in sunshine. And let's bring in month. Okay. And then 3 dots. And then let's bring in, let's go for edit. And import a template. My month is in the wrong place, thank you. Yeah, let's break it by I'm worried it's going to break anyway, to be honest. That's not the right folder. We are at SQL bits. Bar chart. That's what we exported. Everybody cross your fingers. So, when it comes through, it's going to ask you to map your data. Okay? So, here is a recommendation. Before you export it, and actually, before you even start editing your chart, because you start renaming things, it gets complicated, do that double click and rename your fields to sensible stuff. Okay? So, I'm very quickly going to go Average sunshine matches to average rainfall, of course. In the UK, it possibly should. And it's not right, because it's not millimetres, it should be hours. But there we are, we've exported and imported. Right. By the way, I'm going to commit to it by saying it here at SQL Bits. There are 4 charts back on this blue Peter here. Okay, one of those I have just demoed. The others I have demoed to different degrees. I haven't done the little fan one. I'm going to do a YouTube video for each of those so that actually it's there. If you don't see a YouTube video in the next 2 weeks, please, I'm going to be kept to task. Please harass me. Scott knows how to get hold of me. So, the Charticulator visual, you used to have to go to a website and do all the things we've done here today. You still can do that, by the way. It still works. It's still there. They have some fantastic information, some fantastic stuff there. I have written 1 blog post, and I have done 1 video. I've got a whole bunch more to do. The Power BI Tips YouTube also has some great resources. And actually, one resource which is fantastic and has been a great help in me learning has been Burning Suit. They have a fantastic set of Charticulator bits in there. Some of it is from before it came into Power BI, some of it, but it's still the same theory. It still is. The screen looks the same. It's just inside Power BI rather than on a website. Any more questions? Please give feedback. Okay, there's my QR code and the link at the top, or you can do it in the app. There are lots of people in here. Okay, our speakers do not improve if you don't tell us how to improve. And also, every 10 people is a tree. So if you give feedback for 10 sessions, you've planted a tree. You can feel good about yourself. Okay? I don't think I've got no, I haven't got a thank you slide. Sorry, guys. Thank you.